What if better health decisions came from understanding what's really going on, not just doing more? Welcome to Sanando Juntos, Healing Together with Alma. I'm your host, Dr. Alma, pharmacist turned functional health coach. This podcast is for people who want clarity around their health without overwhelm, extremes, or quick fixes. Here we talk about the mental, spiritual, and physical foundations of functional health and how science, intuition, ancestral wisdom, and lived experiences all play a role in real-life health decisions. My goal is to help you understand patterns, make sense of your symptoms, and feel more confident about what steps actually matter next. Grab your cafecito, your matcha, or whatever's fueling you today, and let's talk health. Salud. I didn't go to school to become a pharmacist and then work in functional health. That was not the plan. In fact, functional health, functional medicine was not even in my radar. That work actually found me, and it started with how I was trained. I'm a pharmacist, like I said, so science, data, studies, statistics, that was my world. And it was drilled into me for 4 years. And for a long time, it made sense to me. You have a symptom, you name it, you treat it, you follow the plan. And that's what I believed in because, again, that's what was drilled into me for 4 years in school. But over time, when I started to actually practice pharmacy, I started noticing that something wasn't right. People were doing everything that they were told to do. They were compliant for the most part. They had a diagnosis, a plan, meds, and follow-ups. And they still didn't feel good. They weren't feeling better. And they were tired and inflamed, disconnected from their bodies, and honestly, most of the time just frustrated. The more I paid attention, the more I realized we were treating body parts instead of bodies, addressing symptoms without asking enough questions about the patterns behind them, not asking what was going on underneath or taking a look under the hood, as they say. And when I was introduced to functional medicine, something clicked for me. Functional medicine was the first framework that helped me see those connections more clearly, not as a replacement for science, but as an expansion of it. And instead of just, what's the symptom, it asked, what's driving this? What's been going on for a long time? What's connected that we're ignoring? Mental stress, physical symptoms, emotional load, spiritual disconnection, none of it is separate from the body. Feeling disconnected from yourself kept your body stuck in survival mode. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. And you can't go back to giving people half answers. That's where this work really started for me. I wasn't trying to leave science behind. I just wanted things to make more sense. All of this didn't come from reading books or taking courses or even my own theories. I did not come up with this on my own. Like I said, functional medicine wasn't even on my radar. It was my own life experience and my own body that forced this conversation and forced me to start paying attention. I'm a first-generation Mexican immigrant. My dad was born in a small town in el estado de Guerrero in Mexico, and he grew up to become a cop in Acapulco, where he met my mom and hicieron la nena.
Un aplauso para mami y papi, porque en verdad rompieron.
So, haha, you know I had to put that in there. Well, they decided that they wanted a better life, a better future. And like many Mexicans, they were being told about the opportunities in the US. So off they went with an 8-month-old to a new country where they started with nothing. I grew up with scarcity, not a lot of guidance because my parents were working so much, and a lot of responsibility, especially for my siblings. Like many eldest daughters, I learned how to carry things early. I learned how to push through and how to keep going and not complain. And when I was 19, I got pregnant. And you could have thought that was the end for me. That was it. I wasn't going to move forward. A lot of people think that this could have changed everything for me in my life. But instead, my daughter became my reason to build something more stable and to keep moving forward, even when it was really hard. I went through grad school with a child. I held together a marriage that took more than it gave. I worked my way into becoming Dr. Alma. From the outside, it looked like a great success, but inside, my body was always on edge. Stress felt normal, sleep felt optional, food was an afterthought. Whatever I thought counted as healthy at the time, according to medicine and science. I was working high-pressure retail pharmacy job, which was very stressful. and then going home to having a glass or two of wine at night to calm down, para los nervios, and still running half marathons because I thought that's what discipline and fitness look like, because you had to get your cardio in, right? It was all about the cardio. And then my body started to break down. My hair started falling out. Getting out of bed was so hard. I really struggled with that. And then one day I realized I couldn't even run a mile. My legs and arms felt so weak. And for someone who runs a lot, that really told me that something was very wrong. And so I go to my doctor and she didn't know what was going on. So I got sent to a lot of specialists, neurology, rheumatology, dermatology, just to name a few. And here's the part that still gets me. I am a healthcare professional. I have all the possible resources that I could get to figure out what was going on, and trained in healthcare, I knew the system, but I still couldn't get any answers. My doctors were telling me that everything was fine, nothing was showing up on the tests. And I really didn't get an answer. So I didn't have many options left at that point. I finally decided to pay out of pocket thousands of dollars. At the time, mind you, functional medicine was not as popular as it is now. So it was quite more expensive back then. Still not covered by insurance, but that's a topic for another time. But I spent the money to work with a functional medicine doctor. And the reason I did that is because, honestly, as a Latina, you might know, but we grew up around a lot of skepticism towards doctors and a lot of we'll figure it out ourselves. Sometimes that's helpful, sometimes it's not. But in this case, it was really helpful to have this level of distrust because I was not getting answers and I still needed someone to help me. So this functional medicine doctor, she ran tests that I've never even heard of before, things I didn't even know existed. And suddenly, when I got the results, the story made a lot of sense. My gut was a mess. My cortisol, which is a really important hormone that we'll talk about at some point, my cortisol was tanked. I was producing very little cortisol. And she told me that my cardiovascular system looked like it belonged to an 80-year-old. So that's why my running all of a sudden was very difficult. And here was my diagnosis. It was years of stress throughout school and emotional load from this difficult marriage and having a family and having to navigate that while trying to go through school. Not enough nourishment, following what I thought was a healthy diet from the medical system, from the government. That was not enough nourishment. That was the issue. That was my diagnosis. And then besides that, she said something to me that I will never, ever forget. One part of my protocol was I'll tell you how she said it. She said, "Don't you dare exercise." Like, what? But she did. She told me that I should not exercise, that my body was going through so much and healing. I was going to have to be very kind to my body. And I've never thought of health in that way, or my body needing kindness. So that was a big turning point for me because I was actually part of my protocol. Speaking of protocol, she gave me a whole protocol. Besides the not exercising bit, she gave me a whole protocol which included a plan to heal my gut, a supplement protocol, nutrition, mind and emotional well-being exercises that we can talk a little bit about later. But nutrition, of course, I had to really focus on eating properly for my healing process. I had to work on my mindset, so I did start doing some more meditation and emotional well-being. So kind of dealing with all of the things that caused all that stress and all of that buildup of everything that I had going through emotionally. I had to start to clear that too. She's not a therapist. I didn't talk her through it, but she gave me some tips on how to do it myself, which was very helpful. And I followed that plan exactly because I really wanted to get better. I was motivated. And slowly over time, my energy came back. My body started responding. I did not exercise. And a few months in, I felt different. I felt calmer. I felt more stable. And then about 6 months later, which it does take some time for your body to kind of undo what's been done, I started to feel like myself again in a way I hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. I'm not really sure. But that experience changed everything for me. Not because it was trendy, because it really wasn't trendy, or because it was holistic or outside of the system, but because it was logical. It was measurable. It was real. I mean, I had tests before and I had tests after. and there was improvement. And to me, that's science. So I learned what it feels like when your body isn't fighting you anymore. And when you are learning to be kind to your body, that changes a lot with regards to health. Now, that was over 10 years ago, and I've never related to my body the same way since, meaning that I have had now a connection with my body, and I continue to be in tune with my body since then. Now, this experience really created a turning point for me in the way that I view health, but it wasn't until recently that it was really cemented enough for me to make a change. I wanted to tell you this moment that it was actually cemented for me, like truly, because 10 years ago to today, I was struggling having this knowledge and feeling so disconnected from my work as a pharmacist. It's like knowing something and withholding it. It's really a struggle for me. It's difficult because as a healthcare provider, you're supposed to follow these rules about, what you can and can't say. And I get that because there's so much time invested in your career and in getting to where you are that you don't want to say something that is going to put you in a liability situation where you may be creating harm or not following protocol and getting you in trouble for doing that. So it's a real struggle. But going back to what really cemented this for me is when COVID happened. I saw things so differently than I might have ever before. I saw how quickly complex health conversations, like really complicated health conversations, got flattened so quickly, and how little space there was for questions, for nuance, for individual context. Everybody's different. Everybody's wired different. Everybody biologically has differences, but none of that was put into the conversation. And then I saw how fast choice disappeared. And that was a line for me. I couldn't stay in a system that didn't allow for autonomy or informed consent or choosing what you can and can't put in your body and being forced to do something that you may not want to do for your livelihood. And making that choice for me cost me my job. It wasn't a decision that I took. It was a decision that was made for me. And losing my job, being fired for doing what was right for me, was not only scary, but it felt like a huge betrayal of the system toward me. But it also made things very clear. By then, I knew there was another way to approach health because I had lived it. I had studied it. It was amazing to me. So I was actually looking into it and I knew what was possible when the whole person was considered. So I stopped trying to make this work fit into spaces that weren't built for it. I stopped trying to talk about it with people who are not ready to hear it. And I just built my own. I did not do it out of rebellion. I did it out of alignment. This podcast exists because there's another way to think about health, one that respects your body, one that values understanding over fear, one that doesn't treat you like a checklist. If any part of this sounds familiar, you're not alone. So if you're ready to move from guessing to understanding and from reacting to feeling more grounded in your decisions, I invite you to stay with me here. In the next episode, we'll start zooming out, looking at how we got here, why so many people feel unheard in their health journeys, and what may have been lost along the way. Subscribe, come back, and let's keep exploring what healing can look like when it's rooted in clarity, context, and choice. And let's keep having these conversations, sanando together. Gracias por escuchar. Thank you for listening. Hasta la próxima y cuídense mucho. Thanks for spending this time with me on Sanando Juntos, Healing Together. I hope today's conversation helped you see your health a little more clearly and feel more grounded about where to go next. If this episode was helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might benefit from hearing it too. That's how this community grows and how these conversations reach the people who need them. If you're ready for more personalized guidance, you'll find ways to work together and learn more in the show notes. Until next time, cuídate mucho, trust the process, and remember, we heal juntos siempre. Ciao, ciao, baby. But wait, there's more. The legal stuff. I gotta say it. This podcast is for educational purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or replace medical care. I'm a pharmacist and a functional health coach, but I'm not your personal healthcare provider. Talk with your physician or qualified healthcare professional before making changes to medications, supplements, or your health routine. Take what resonates, move at your own pace, and make decisions that feel aligned for you.